This is a tutorial for the turtle, sea turtle. So these two were made from printer paper, which you can use fine. I'm going to be using a, this is also printer, it should be the same quality, but it's just green. Yep. So I'm just going to make it a square first. Alright, and then rip. Alright, so we're going to be folding from the crease pattern, which you can see right there, and I'll link in the description where you can find the crease pattern so you can look at it. Alright, so first thing you notice when you see it is that you see it's all on a grid. So this grid is 16 by 16, so if you counted, you'd count 16 both ways. And so some models you don't want to make all the creases, like we don't really need these extra creases here, but for us it doesn't really matter too much. It still looks okay even with the extra creases. So we're just gonna go through and make a 16 by 16 grid. So if you don't know how to do that, it's pretty simple. We'll just fold it in half. Alright, and then we'll fold it into fourths. Alright. And then like that. Okay, and everything we do horizontally, we also want to do vertically too. So now we're going to fold in half this way. And then, so you notice that what you want to do is you want to have the crease on your side, so you're folding the paper away from you, and then so you want to bring it up to the reference fold. So for me right now, this is the halfway line right now, so I'm going to fold it up to there and then make the crease. Use your nails, or if you have a bone folder, that's help you make sharp creases. So, yep. So now we're going to go ahead and do eighths. And I'll, yep. But you don't need a bone folder. And then, and I'm also going to make them all valley folds. So even though on this crease pattern you see that some of them are mountains, like like that, but it doesn't quite matter at this point. We're just going to make all the pre-creases, and then we'll fix them later. So hopefully by folding this one, I know a lot of people have folded it before, and it seems pretty popular as like a beginner's crease pattern. So hopefully by folding this in the tutorial, you can learn how to get started on crease patterns, which are it's pretty handy because a lot of designers don't really want to go through the effort of making diagrams or a video tutorial, but a lot of people are willing to draw crease patterns. So if you can read crease patterns and learn how to fold from them, then you're off to a great start. You unlock a whole lot of models that you couldn't fold before. So this is a box pleating model. Alright, yeah, so now I'm going to go do 16ths. So this is a box pleating model, which means that all the creases are on the grid or 45-degree angle, and then so like these are 45, and then these guys are exceptions. It doesn't quite matter. But yeah, so box pleating crease patterns, in my opinion, are a lot easier to fold and to design than others. Okay. So we finished our grid. So hopefully yours is nice and neat. And again, if yours are valley folds and mounted fold mix, it's not a huge deal. mine are all one way. So usually when we see box pleated crease patterns, the first step is to make all the lateral pleats, or sorry, creases. And then the next step we're going to do is we're going to do all the diagonal creases. We don't have to do all of them, but like I'll explain what I mean by that. So for example, we're going to start with like these ones, and then we're actually going to fold through these triangles. So we're just going to like go straight through that. So you see, like this one is, these diagonal creases is 4 units, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So they're all 4 units. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to make them also mounted fold. So we'll just pre-crease right there. So 4 units long, right? And then at the 4th unit, we're going to go to the next one. So start in the next direction. So this is also 4 units long. And again, mounted fold, valley fold doesn't quite matter at this point. And for a lot of crease patterns, when you're just pre-creasing it, it doesn't really matter. You can fix them later. There we go. And so of course we will come back to do these weird triangles, and I'll explain what those are for. And it's the same thing at the bottom. So we're going to do, these. Yeah, so this strategy with folding all the laterals and then all the diagonals, it will work for most box pleating crease patterns. Even like to a degree, the Satoshi Kamiya's Ryujins, they too will be, you'll fold the laterals, and then once you've got the grid points, then you can fold the diagonals, and then you're off to a good start. All right, we're actually going to ignore these ones for now. And we'll see why in a little bit. We'll address them in their own way. But we are going to go and do these triangles. So you see it, we just got to count. So you see this one has a slope of -1/3. So and it starts from this point, 1 unit. So I'm going to start 1 unit in, and then -1/3. And then the next slope. So we can just do this slope of 1/2 and slope of -2. We can ignore these other lines for now, because when we actually collapse the crease pattern, they'll come in naturally. Yeah. So this triangle thing is called a level shifter, and so the reason what that does is because you see here, our pleat is like nice and wide because we want the fin to be kind of wide. But up here, it's kind of thin because we don't want the head to be super fat. So what it does is, normally the pleats, they go around the ridge crease and then, like that. But here, it comes in as a mountain and it exits as a valley. So that's not good. So we need these triangles to kind of, to connect them. So it's like a designing trick, kind of, but as long as you know how to fold it, for now you're off to a good start. Right, so we did those two, and now same thing at the bottom. And again, if it's mountain or valley, it's not super important yet. Yep, there we go. Good. There we go. All right. Next, we're going to start taking care of this. So this section out here is what's going to give us the pattern shell. So what we're going to do is you see these pleats. So we got a whole line of mountain fold, or like mountain folds here, and then next to this big line of valley, right? And then we also see we got horizontally we got mountains all the way across, and then valleys underneath it. So we're actually going to do, we're going to start with these vertical creases. So let's make the mountain, and then the valley, and then mountain, and valley. So it should be symmetrical down, straight down the middle, and then, you know, like this. So now that we got that, then we can do our horizontals. So this one starts at number 4, so 4 units down, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and so this is our mountain. And then underneath it is the valley. Great. And then, so now after the valley we count 2, and then mountain. So here's the valley, 1, 2, mountain. Right. So here's our mountain. So then same thing. So then we count 2, mountain, and then valley. Great. All right, looks pretty good. And then if you have a bone folder, you want to, why don't we make them nice and sharp here. Great. So this next step, we're going to pre-crease these red lines, so these diagonals. So it's actually a lot easier this way rather than trying to, with the unfolded, trying to go through and do all these diagonals. So I'm going to use tweezers, just so you guys can see. Otherwise, my fingers are getting in the way. But if you don't have tweezers, your fingers should be fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold our diagonal lines. So here and then here. So we're basically going to do an inside reverse fold. So there's one. Yep. And so you see this paper folding is 2 layers thick. So this will actually give us, so it might look like we're making 2 creases, right? It might look like we're making 1, 2, but since it's 2 layers thick, we're actually making all 4. We're making this whole square in this one fold. And so on the same thing on the other side, we're just going to make this, we're going to do the same thing. So same inside reverse fold. There we go. It's pretty good. And then from the bottom, I'm just going to squeeze it here to make sure that they're nice and sharp. It'll make things easier for us. Great. All right, and then repeat for the other 2 pleats. Great. So now we got this. Yep. So we're actually going to undo those inside reverse folds. So I'm just going to, and we're going to now that we pre-crease it, we're actually going to go ahead and make the shell. So this step might be kind of tricky, but I'll try to explain it. So I'm going to, we can keep this first one. I'm going to open up these bottom 2 though. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a mountain down down the middle. And then, so it looks like this. And then these are, remember, see how they're all red, right? So all of these diagonals are going to be mountain folds. So these 2 guys gotta come up like that. So now this becomes, these 2 became mountain. And you see that this is also mountain and this is also mountain. So this is looking pretty good. And now, now this also needs to become mountain. So all these diagonals are mountain folds. So we need to, in order to make a mountain, so we just gotta push it down. And you see we got a valley underneath it, so that's what we got right here. We got the valley underneath it. We also see we have valleys, so we got a valley running through here, and a valley running through here, so that's what's represented by the valleys that go through the squares. Alright, great. Now same thing here. So we have a mountain going through, and then we want the diagonals to be mountain, and we see that everything falls into place as the crease pattern says. Yeah. Great. Cool. And now I'm going to, so now we got our whole shell pattern. I'm just gonna make since we got some new stuff, I'm just gonna flatten it. That's good enough. All right, great. Now we're ready to move on to the other stuff. So we see there's this crease that goes down here, right? So this one's pretty important, especially because all the diagonals meet there. So let's make that crease. And again, yeah. So make the crease and then same on both sides. And actually what we're going to do for now is we're going to make a valley here and then a mountain here. And you notice that it's not quite, these creases we're making right now are not quite what's in the crease pattern, right? There's no creases down here, but we're actually going to, it's just temporary, we're going to get rid of them. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to get rid of it through these triangles, and you'll see. Alright, so now you see that, yep, you see it looks like this. And it's symmetrical, so to speak. So around this big bump, it's symmetrical. So we have a small bump, big bump, and little bump, or so to speak. And so now we can do a thing called an Elias stretch. What basically that means is we're going to put into place the diagonal creases and the horizontal creases. So this becomes mountain, right? See the mountain crease? The red one. Red is usually mountain. And we're actually going to ignore it. So we're going to go put diagonal creases through the triangle. So like that. And then we're just going to fold straight through the pleats. It's okay. And actually, I think, yeah, I didn't draw in the pleats. There should be some creases here that I didn't draw in. So it's not always perfect, but it looks good. Yep, so there we go. And then same thing 4 more times. Now we see why we need the triangles, these weird triangles, because right now the fins look pretty skinny, but if we just, pop this out and try to make it thicker, what's going to happen is that, it's not going to work. The head needs to stay skinny. So what we need to do is we need to use the triangles, and here's how we do it. So I'm going to go over here and open it up, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a squash fold. So I'm going to move this over and squash over here. And it should all come down on creases we already made. So this, you see that triangle? The triangle appears now. And it should come down nice and easy because we already pre-creased it. Alright, and then same thing over here. There we go. Would it be? Oh, I can't do that. Alright. Yeah, so if you need to use a crease pattern, I'll have the link in the description. The crease pattern, if you ever get stuck, it's going to be your best friend because it'll tell you how to do it. Oh, okay, so now we're just going to close the thing back up like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this whole thing and we're just going to push it through like that. Okay, it's called a closed thing. And then now what we got is this thing came out. And now it matches the crease pattern. So now the fin is nice and wide, right? There's no creases down this way. I mean, it's still there, but it's not. So that's why we got no creases down this way. And the head is still the same. So it's looking great. Now same thing over here. And you see how we ignored like this valley fold here, and so but it came in anyways, right there. We never pre-creased that, but it just came in. So you don't have to worry about every single crease. You just yeah. Looks good. So now we got our shell, and this is as far as the crease pattern is going to take us. So the rest is just shaping, which usually designers won't express through the crease pattern. That's why you need a video or diagrams. But if you do more diagrams and you do more videos, eventually you'll get a sense of how to shape on your own. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold the fin down, and I actually loosened it up so that way I don't have to fold down this little triangle, because this point is pretty thick, so I don't really want to move that. But yeah, you see that? Yeah. And then just kind of eyeball the angle you want. This looks pretty good for me. And I'm just going to fold this little thing down. There we go. And so there's a fin. Looks nice. And then we'll do the same thing over here. So I'm going to loosen this a little bit. and then oops, and then fold the fin without this thing. And again, if you can't figure that out, it's not really important. You can just fold, you know, this big thick horn along with it, brute force it. There we go. All right. Now for the bottom fins, I'm going to turn it over, and what we're going to do is we're going to fold it up as high as you can go, and then to the side. So that's a crimp. That's called a crimp. All right. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then I'm just going to lock it in by folding it down this way. So that way it won't, it can't, or I guess it could, but it's less likely to swing back. And nice and sharp. And then same thing on the other side. So as high as you can, and then down at an angle, and lock it in. Great. All right, we're almost there. Almost there. Now we got to do the tail. So I find that I don't really like folding down the tail like this, because that means that this little tip is at the end of the shell. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to fold it at an angle, kind of like that. And then on the other side, the same. Great. And then, I don't know, maybe I don't want to fold all the way up to that, but I'll fold, you know, a good portion. And it's going to be 2 rabbit ears. So here's one rabbit ear, here's the other rabbit ear. If you don't know what that means, it's totally fine. Alright, there we go. And I'm going to sharpen out the tail, because tails are not fat. There we go. Actually, probably should have done that first. Yeah. Anyways, then that's right. Then we'll like that, and then you can kind of just mush it into the direction you want, and that's plenty good enough. You know, maybe give it a little curl. Give some nice curl. That's pretty good. All right, now the head. So the head is obviously the hardest part. We want to get some nice eye shape. There's multiple ways to do it. And we also want to get a neck. So why don't we do that first? So we want to have a pleat. So make it nice and small so we don't lose much paper into the pleat. That's pretty good. I'm pretty sure the paper I'm using right now is thicker than printer paper. So just keep that in mind. Try to make it small. We don't want to lose a lot of paper. Alright, now we want to make the head kind of 3D. So the way we'll do that, if I can finish this neatly, the way we're going to do that is we're going to open it up like this. But we want it, so we're going to mush fold again. Mush fold is like, it's the kind of, yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's kind of forcing things to work, and usually it does. Good. So we wanted to open up the neck, the head, and have the neck pleat, and so we kind of just forced it. All right, now I don't really like it how sharp that is. I'm just going to kind of round it out. Okay, good. Now for eyes, there's a number of ways you can do it. If you look in the Google Drive, which I'll link to, someone, I think he did some photo diagrams, and what he did is he just poked the eyes in, which maybe I'll do that on one side. So what that looks like is exactly what it sounds like. So I'm going to actually use tweezers. You just go ahead and poke it in. It makes a nice eye socket, I guess. Actually, I actually like how that looks. That's pretty good. So you could definitely do that on the other side. So just poke that in. Or I can show you the other way that I had been doing it previously, but maybe not as good. So what I had been doing previously is I'd make a little, take advantage of the slot and make an eye socket from that. So pull it down a little bit and then lift up the top. I guess we can call them eyelids now. That's pretty good. Alright. Yeah, so that's definitely another way you can do it. It's up to you which way you want. I actually like this one. It looks more like a baby turtle. And yeah, so that's about it for the head. I guess the last thing we can do is we can just curve the shell. So I'm going to make that nice and curved. Yeah. Alright, and with that, that's about it for this turtle. Oh. Yeah, so definitely try to use, I think that didn't happen with printer paper. Printer paper should be fine. This thing was a little thicker, so be careful. Hopefully you learned something with how to do the crease patterns. Hopefully you kind of got a hang of how to do this. You should check out the links in the description, and I'll see you next time.